Hey, hello everyone. Thanks for coming for this session. My name is Vijay Rangaswamy. I'm the partner GTM lead for application modernization with Amazon Q. And I'm joined by...
Hi, my name is Renuka Krishnan and I'm a senior partner solutions architect working with customers and partners on migration and modernization.
Yeah, I think we have a very short agenda today. We will do a quick deep dive of how do we transform .NET applications with Q. I think you saw the announcement in the morning, so this is hot from the press. And we will be available post the session in this area to take any specific questions if you've got. With that, let me quickly jump to the context of why we are all here. We are seeing a huge opportunity space here. 75% of the applications, enterprise applications, are still on-premise, so which provides a huge opportunity for modernization. And we are seeing that 70% of AWS customer Windows workloads are about to be transformed in the next 2 years. All right, so having talked about those opportunities, we also hear a lot of challenges from our customers. So the main challenge is that there is a huge technical debt that they have to handle with legacy applications and infrastructure. So that creates a spiraling effect on the other challenges that you're seeing in terms of inability to scale, in terms of they're not able to innovate and release features as per the market requirements. So what are these customers, what are the solutions for these challenges is basically looking at how do we optimize and modernize. So we have to go into the Microsoft optimization and modernization pathways, and that's the solution that we are with our customers. Having said that, there are thousands of customers who are on this modernization journey on Microsoft workloads. The key tenets that what we are seeing with this modernization journey is that they are looking for speed of feature releases. They are looking at application performance. And most importantly, they are looking to reduce costs when it comes to modernization, especially the licensing costs and the maintenance costs for end-of-support licenses. There are multiple examples I can talk about, but just to talk about a few, Fileforce, a company based in Japan, they have huge reduction in their operating costs after their modernization. They are reporting up to 60% of their license cost reductions once they are on a modernized estate. And they're able to release features in weeks rather than in months. And we can keep talking about a lot of customers like DraftKings, Agri Digital. So many of them have realized those benefits. And in a span of that, we see about 40% of these customers are having a reduction of about 50 to 60% of their licensing costs when they get into a modern estate. Okay, we have talked about modernization. So typically, these are the modernization paths that we are specifying. We talk about the application modernization, we talk about database modernization. So the first step is you can start with the rehost of your applications, and then you try to containerize them, trying to create a fluid pipeline from code to deployment. And the third phase is where you get the maximum benefits, when you refactor your code, when you move from your .NET framework to your .NET code, and your ability to run on a cross-platform. It not only takes you off the license charts or gives you the license freedom, but also gives the ability to run on ARM architectures, right? Which gives you a performance boost and also a boost on the compute. In this session, we will focus primarily on the .NET app modernization. Okay, so how do we get there? This is a 2-year holistic journey that we have provided for modernization. It may not be exactly 2 years. You might be in multiple stages of your journey. So we started with the assess phase, where you use programs like OLA and to trying to optimize and get your license agreements to be scanned. And then what you do is go into the mobilize phase, where you get funding to do your proof of concepts. How many of you here are doing a Microsoft modernization funding program? Just a show of hands, yeah? Yes, we have people using it. So this funding gets continued into your modernization phase. So we will talk about funding programs. We can talk to us after the session also about how you want to utilize these programs. But in a nutshell, there is a system of programs to assist you through this journey of modernization. Okay, just to recap, why customers are trying to move from .NET apps to cross-net platform. The main reason is performance. You are able to run on ARM architectures, which helps you the ability to run on processes like Graviton. We heard about it today morning. And long-term support and security. And the most important thing is the license freedom that you're looking at. And why do they port these .NET apps to Linux? Mainly to reduce the operating costs. When we talk about operating costs, there is a huge portion of the cost that comes as part of the license and also as part of the end of service fees that you have to pay, right? And that is getting reduced. And the second is the scale and the performance of the cloud that you can also run it on lightweight containers when you are moving on to Linux, right? And you can then move on to a serverless architecture. You can completely refactor into a serverless-based architecture spectrum, which has a huge reduction of your cost and maintenance impacts. So now we introduce Amazon Q Developer, which can reimagine the experience across the software development lifecycle when you're going through this modernization journey. And when I talk about experiencing this whole thing, I'm saying that you are going through all phases of planning, development, testing across with Q. And we are going to share, without much ado, I'll pass it on to Renuka to talk about the Q transformation. Yeah.
So today we will be talking about Amazon Q Developer with transformation capabilities for .NET. This was announced just earlier today morning by Matt Garman. Let's see. So before we dive deep into that, let's see why did we launch this service. Because when you talk about .NET application, many of these traditional applications are monolith with tens of hundreds of projects and several and numerous NuGet packages that you need to replace. But again, this is a resource-intensive process, a lot of time and effort is required from your developers to port these applications. So these are the kind of work that you have to do to keep your application up to date with all the security requirements, but these are not generating any value-added services to your application. And again, we had a lot of tools that's available. We have our own tools like Coding Assistant for .NET, .NET Refactoring Toolkit. But all these tools, it did not do the full end-to-end job. The developers still had to come and modify some of the code to get it to the finish line. And again, many of these .NET applications are legacy applications, so it will have old deprecated code. And especially if you have inherited old code bases that you may not have subject matter experts available, you would be always worried about making some of these changes and breaking the system. So with that, let's see if you have to port your .NET application from an old .NET framework to .NET, the latest .NET, what are some of the steps that's required? So for each buildable unit of code, you have to identify the replacement package for the NuGet. Then for each of the NuGet package that you replaced, you need to identify and modify all the functions like function signatures and everything. And finally, you will have to keep on building the application. You may end up with some errors, then debug those errors, then again build those applications to make sure that it's buildable and it can be taken to the next step. And again, after that, you need to write unit test cases, or if you have existing test cases, you have to upgrade those. Again, you have to set up the Linux environment where you can go and test your new ported application. So as you can see, there is a lot of manual steps that's involved that the developers have to do if you need to port your .NET Framework applications to .NET. So with that, let's meet Amazon Q Developer with transformation capabilities for .NET. So we are releasing 2 versions of this new service. One is the IDE version, which is integrated into your Visual Studio IDE. And the second version is a web version that you can access from anywhere. You don't need to have an IDE installed on your machine. So in today's session, due to like time constraints, I'll be talking mainly about the IDE version. So this is how it will look like. So within your Visual Studio IDE, this feature will be available along with the AWS toolkit with Q for Visual Studio installation. So once you have installed the toolkit, you would be able to port server-side components of your .NET application from right within your IDE. So what Amazon Q does is that like it analyzes your code, then it will clone the code to a secure ephemeral environment on the cloud. Then it ports your application first based on applying some rules. Then after applying the rules, it will automatically debug and fix all the errors. And this is like LLM-based debugging that Amazon Q is doing. And once the porting is successfully completed, Q will give you the code changes that it has made in the project. So this, as a developer, you will be able to review these changes and accept the code. So basically, within one click, the developers will be able to accept the code changes and port your application from .NET Framework to .NET. So with that, let's see a demo of how this works. So here, as you can see, AWS Toolkit is already installed. To get started, you would have to set up login to Amazon Q with IAM Identity Center. So once that you have logged in, you will have the option to port your application. So right here, I have an application called Bob's Bookstore, which is an e-commerce online bookstore where you can buy books. So this is basically written in .NET Framework 4.8. So you can see right from the IDE, if we right click, I can see the option to port my application. So once I have selected that, I can also choose the target framework. So right now we have .NET 6 and .NET 8. So for the demo, we have chosen .NET 8. And unlike other manual porting tools, what Q does is that it will analyze the project and it will automatically select all the dependent projects. So here I selected only bookstore.web, but Q analyzes the code and it identified that bookstore.data and bookstore.common, they all need to be ported, only then this whole solution will work. So it automatically picked all the related projects for porting. And then it will create a transformation plan with all the steps needed to complete that porting. And you can see the transformation workflow in progress. You can see the status from within your IDE. And once the code transformation is complete, you would be able to, it will also generate a complete transformation summary with all the changes that it has made. So it will show the files changed, number of packages that were updated, and also number of APIs that was changed for this porting. Then as a developer, you can go and cross-check some of those files. You don't have to go through all the files, but you can spot check, open some of these files, compare the changes to make sure that it has made all the changes that you were expecting it to make. This is optional step that you can use to validate these changes. So this is kind of human in the loop review process for this whole LLM-based porting. And also, once the porting is done, we also provide a report that lets you know once your application is ported, in order to run on Linux, you may have to make maybe some other changes as well. So it generates also a Linux readiness report that you can download from the IDE. So in case you are moving from Windows to Linux and you want to make some path changes or anything related to that, all those information will be available in the Linux readiness report. And once you're happy with all your changes, you can accept those changes. So till now, your code is not in your local machine. All the porting has been done in that secure ephemeral environment. But once you have reviewed and you are ready to accept those changes, Q will download all the changes that it has made and then it will implement those changes in your local version of the code. So right now I accepted the changes, and you can see that the target framework, now the current version of the project is like .NET 8. So these are the kinds of .NET application that's supported, like C# application, then console application, class library, WCF, Windows authored packages, and also the target versions that supported are .NET 6 and 8. And also talking about the security, like security is at the top of everyone's mind. So again, it's job zero at AWS. So all your code, it is only ephemerally transferred, and it's encrypted while that in transit. And you can also use like your own customer managed keys for encryption. And again, once the porting is done, your source code is completely removed from that ephemeral environment. So with that, I would like to hand it back to Vijay.
Okay, thank you, Renuka. Wasn't that cool? Guys, I know there'll be a lot of questions, and as I said, we will be available for 15 to 20 minutes near the booth area if you have further questions to answer. So we have seen tools before. We have seen the porting assistant for .NET. We have seen the .NET refactoring assistant, porting assistant. And now we have Q, which is comprehensive across the whole life cycle. But I just want to remind that we talked about some of the funding. This is mainly for partners. If you're looking on a modernization journey, you can leverage the Microsoft Modernization Program. And I know some of you here have access to that or have utilized it, but please do reach out to us if you have further questions on that. And beyond that, for partners, we also have the Q developer funding that's available. It was there in 2024. We will extend it to 2025. It's still getting finalized, but you please do reach out to us if you are looking at Q developer licenses. So how do you reach out to us? There are multiple ways that you can reach out to us if you're a partner. You can scan the QR code, and it'll take you to an AppSheet form. You can fill it up in terms of what are your interests and how do you want to work with us, whether it's related to a go-to-market or an opportunity or related to any project that you're working on. You can reach out to us. And the second thing is you can also reach out to us through qdev-partners@amazon.com. You can just drop in a query, and then we will try to respond to that. And if you're a partner, also reach out to your PDM PSA for your next steps, whether it's an opportunity-based or if you are looking for any other GTM or any questions or comments related to this service. So that is it. So we have about a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, we can take now, and we can take the rest post the session.